evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Picnic Table Chat Show. This is season 6, episode 5, and a massive welcome to everyone on all the different platforms: YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and listening now and in the future on any of our podcast sites as well. How is everyone doing? What's everyone been up to? Give me a little message of hello and whatnot in the comment section. And don't forget to drop a little like if you're here listening to this. But anyways, let's crack on with the episode. So we are watching the leaf cutters. They are climbing about some leaves. Not much cutting going on at the moment, but I'm sure they will soon. I've only just put these leaves in not long ago, like about half an hour before the stream actually. So they're probably just having a good investigate before they start their cutting process. I expect by the morning half of these will be gone. They cut quite a lot of leaves. They get through quite a lot. It's been quite interesting. So good evening, Crazy Antics. So over the last week or so, we have had a little bit of a die-off. So I woke up one morning and every day they're dropping out old bits of fungus and bits of rubbish, that's normal. But overnight, one night, I woke up to quite a largish pile of dead fungus and dead bodies, actually. So that was a little bit concerning. And I spoke to Ant Davey, and he said it's kind of normal, there would be some fungus which won't make it. Don't worry, don't be too concerned. And I'm not too concerned because what seems to have happened is the smaller piles of fungus that were kind of scattered about from the moving in process. They're the ones that have sort of died off, not the big fungus ball itself. The big fungus ball itself is growing quite well. You can't see it in this shot, but there has been some recordings. I need to upload more, actually. I've been doing almost a daily video update on these, but I've got loads built up that I haven't quite uploaded. Whoops, but they're quite long and they take a lot of work to condense down, whatever, not work, but time that I can't do anything else because it ties up my systems. But anyways, we are doing that. And so what was I saying? Yeah, that's it. So they had their bit of a die-off. We're not too concerned. The fungus ball itself is growing and the numbers aren't dipping at all. There's still loads of them in there, so we're not too concerned about that. And as you can see, they are quite happy looking around at leaves. I expect they'll start cutting them soon. Like I say, by the morning, I expect most of these leaves will be gone. One thing I have noticed about them as well is their insatiable appetite for water. They love water so much, even though their environment is at 99% humidity. There's lots of moisture in there. They are fiends for water. So I've added in a water tower as well. It's not necessary. Quite often people say you don't need to give them extra water, but they don't seem to be getting all they need from those leaves. So I have added in an extra water tower as well, just for why not? I'd rather give them more than they need than not enough. So my tactic with these leaves here, as you can see, they are stood up, and what I've got them stood in is a little pot filled with gravel. Now this gravel has been cleaned, and then I've chucked a load of water in as well. So the water is going to keep those leaves fresh for a little bit longer and hydrated for a little bit longer, which is the main thing because they'll get their water again from those leaves. It will keep them stood up, but the ants won't be able to drown in the water because of the gravel, basically. Exactly. You can never give them too much water sources, the more the merrier. So that's exactly what I thought. I'd chuck a water tower in there. I was a little bit apprehensive as to whether they would use it to start with, and it did take them a good hour or so to kind of work out to put the heads inside of it. It was quite amusing. Me and my wife were kind of watching it, just well, they're licking all over it, they're eating all around it, but they're not actually going in it yet. And then finally they worked it out. And overnight they drank a considerable amount, probably about half a tower's worth of water, as well as all their normal water sources that they have. So they obviously needed that extra bit in there. But apart from that, they seem to be doing well. We've had no real major problems. I've been bitten plenty of times. But like I've said in the past, the bites aren't actually too bad. I'd rather be bitten by 100 of these than stung by a couple of Myrmica mainly because it is just a little like pinprick, and then you take it off and it's over. And they're not squishy ants. They are quite sturdy, hard ants, and you can kind of roll them up and flick them back into the enclosure. They're completely fine. But yeah, they've got quite a hard exoskeleton, which is nice. It's a bit different to a lot of other species that I kind of deal with, a lot of species are a bit more squishy, we could say. Oh dear, oh dear. What else has going on? Apart from that, yeah, not a lot has been happening with the leaf cutters. They've just been taken along nicely. They do like their dried rose petals, which I am still offering to them just as an alternative to the leaves. But they do go for the fresh over the dried petals like 90% of the time. But like the other day I saw, it was cool because there was 2 in a row carrying bits of leaf, then there was one carrying a bit of rose petal, and then one carrying a bit of leaf, and they were like literally like right next to each other in the row, carrying them all back to the fungus pile at the same time. It was like just what you'd see on the nature documentary sort of thing. It looked so cool, like watching them go through that big tube. It was very cool. But yeah, that's just one of those moments that like you go to grab your camera, you turn back around and it's already done with and it's finished and you've missed it. But yeah, it was good and it was nice to watch. I think I watched that bit with my daughter actually. See, my daughter Kayla, which hasn't really been into ants massively, has actually really got into watching the leaf cutters. It's one colony that has caught her attention. Obviously, the leaf cutters have a appeal of their own compared to any other ant. They are very different, very exciting. And obviously a lot bigger, and you can watch what they're doing. So I think that's kind of what's got her, but it has appealed to Kayla, which is nice because Amy's always been into the ants, the insects. Amy will hold pretty much any insect I've got. She's got no fear at all. Whereas Kayla, I don't think you'd get her near a cockroach, let alone holding one. So what else has been happening over here in the ant corner? I have had a very busy week, but mainly just doing admin stuff. So there's not actually a massive amount to report, I'm afraid. We've got a few other things we're going to talk about, but I'm not going to bore you or go too off topic tonight. So it's probably just going to be a fairly short episode. So let's talk a little bit about Sheffield. The Sheffield show, obviously, it is coming along really nicely. We've got some amazing vendors booking in, even more amazing vendors booking in all the time, to the point where we're pretty much full, but we're never full really. You know, with me, I can always open up more space. But we've got a lot of vendors messaging and emailing. A few I've rejected as well because they just don't fall quite into the category that I'd like to cater for, we could say. But either way, it's looking like an absolute some extra bits and bobs going on around the room as well, without going into too much detail, of course. Now, if you do want more detail, you're going to have to wait till the 1st of January. On the very 1st of January, big old update's going to go up on the Ants on a Rock website. And it's going to have loads of information about who's going to be there, what's happening, and things that are going to be going on throughout the day. Because we've got loads of amazing speakers, as always, loads of universities involved and sending lecturers, which we are thankful for. So thank you to all the universities and laboratories that are involved with this show, because there's quite a few of you. But yeah, there's going to be other things going on around the room as well, which I'm super excited about. I had a few other ideas which I kind of put forward to the committee. Some of them, they thought I was crazy. Some of them were like, actually, that's a really good idea. Can you put it off? But I think I could pretty much do everything. You know me, I could pretty much do everything. That pretty much says it all, doesn't it? I can't quite do everything, but I do like to give it all a good go. So if you are coming along to the Sheffield show, obviously tickets are on sale already. If you haven't grabbed one, do grab one at some point. we're not going to sell out, and there will be tickets available on the door as well. If you do come along, keep your eyes open for the Ants on a Rock stall. We are going to have a stall at this show, and that's going to be where you can get all your merchandise for the shows and things as well. There's going to be some cool extra cool little, I don't know the word, there's going to be some cool stuff there, merchandise that you can buy, and maybe even some freebies as well, but you'll have to come and grab them before they go, basically, because stocks are limited as always. But yes, keep your eyes open for our stall. We'll obviously have some stock there as well. I'm not going to be taking masses of stock because it's like 300 miles of traveling, and that's not good for that's not good for ants, not really. It's going to be hard enough taking exhibits, so we're not going to be taking masses of stock, but merchandise and other things like that, dry goods, will be available on my stall. And obviously there will be all the other vendors there to make up for what I do not bring myself. I'm just reading what is in front of me. Yeah, so on the 1st of January, there's going to be the big update. I'm leaving it quite close to the event, just because I like to keep it all a surprise. Obviously, after this event, we do have the Bristol event in August. It's towards the start of August this time, so I will release that date properly soon if I haven't already. I don't think I have already, but that date will be released fairly soon as well. We do have the Weymouth show, but it is not an ant-based show. It is just a show for anyone in my local area that enjoys the Jurassic Coast, basically. So that is happening as well, and I do have a few small other events. In fact, on the, I believe it's the 3rd of December, if you are local, there is a I forget, like a Christmas fete sort of thing that we've been invited to come along to and show off what we do in our workshop. So if you are local, then do pop along and say hello as well. It is completely free, especially our bit. We're not going to be charging anything. Just turn up and say hello, have a look at what we got and what we do, because our workshops are quite interesting. We take along some interesting stuff, some interactive bits as well, which are quite fun. Which I don't think I've ever shown on my videos or my streams or even talked about before, really. So yeah, come along, see what we do at our workshops as well. It's just a good bit of fun. And why not? It's coming up to Christmas, and who doesn't like a Christmas fete? I'm just here swigging my Lucozade. I need to get like a sponsorship from Lucozade or something, the amount I'm drinking at the minute. But I've got away from Relentless and the other energy drinks a little bit. But I mean, Lucozade just doesn't hit the spot, let's be honest. None of them really do it for me anymore. I've kind of gone past the time where caffeine keeps me awake. I'm too tired. Oh well. Right, so we do have a big topic, and whilst we've got 5 people here, before we move on to our big topic of the night, who fancies a duck race? If you fancy a duck race, simply call out a number now, and we will go from 1 to 6. Ah, absolutely brilliant. See, it's nice to have you back, Crazy Antics. I haven't seen you for a while. It's nice to have you back. We're always here, we're always here. Every Wednesday, every Sunday. We've been going for over a year now. I don't know if you saw that, actually. What was it? Duck race. There we go. Yeah, we've been going for over a year now. That was interesting. That kind of realization of, wow, I've been talking rubbish pretty much twice a week for over a year. It's kind of given an insight into my mind, I think. Everyone's kind of had an insight into my brain a little bit. It's not necessarily a good thing, but it is the way it is. Right, we got a 2-minute duck race with 6 ducks. And let's Oh, we've got 7 people in chat now, and Creepy's gone for number 8. So let's go back. Let's go for 8 ducks for 2 minutes. Oh, we've got some interesting ducks. Oh, crazy antics! I know that. What do you do? If you don't mind saying on stream, don't feel you have to at all. But yeah, work's kicking everyone's butt at the minute. Everyone's trying to keep up with bills, so we'll take on extra hours. And I don't think anyone's really getting there. So let's say, like, Creepy's number 8, Katrina's number 3, Crazy Antics is number 5. Anyone else want to join in? Just chuck in a number that hasn't already been called. Simple as that. Let's have a little look. We got, oh god, they've ganged right up there. The Plain Ducks are a right gang of so-and-sos. They cause trouble throughout the race. Let's keep an eye on them. We've got Donald Trump Duck. He's Donald Trump. Let's not get into that either. We got Green Star Duck. He is going to shoot like a shooting star. I got Sherlock Holmes Duck. He kind of needs to investigate how to win. I don't know. I'm talking rubbish. Soldier Duck. I do like Soldier Duck, but that's just the patriotic side of me. And then we've got the purple kind of ziggy zaggy duck. Let's get the race underway, because otherwise I'm just talking rubbish, aren't I? Let's be honest. We turn it down. Here we go. Boosh. Down. I said, up. I can't get it. I can't get it to turn down. Like, that would do. That would do. Charles is number 2. Good luck, everyone. This is not for a prize. This is just for fun. Crazy Antics. Oh, I think you told me that before, actually, Crazy Antics. I think I remember you said that before. It's ridiculous that, like, you're a teacher. I don't know, like, 11 to... Yeah, I couldn't do it. I could not be a teacher. That is one thing I definitely couldn't do. So good, like, hats off to you, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Yeah, I thought we did, yeah. See, I do remember these things sometimes. You started at a new school. That's pretty cool. Are you like a full proper teacher, or are you a supply teacher at this new school? Are you like there full time? You've taken on classes, and I don't know what really defines the difference. Is it the qualifications? Because I suppose to be a supply teacher, you're still qualified. It's more like on the bank, like working on the bank. If you don't know what that means, it means like sort of on call, but you don't really have set hours. Head of department. Oh wow, well done. So not just any old teacher. You shouldn't say you're just a teacher. You're head of the department. That's like, I don't know if it really equates to much in teacher terms, but to me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm head of the department. I've got a badge and everything. Make yourself a badge. Just a little bit of tinfoil, bottle cap, bit of ribbon. And number 6. Well done, number 6. I believe it was going to be Creepy, but I said Creepy was going to be... So no one. That was just Sherlock Holmes Duck taking home the win for the Ducks. What is going on? There's quite a few ants there, just towards the middle center of the stems of leaves. So close. yeah. Like I say, I'll make you a ribbon. If you send me your address, I'll make you a ribbon and send it to you. Why not? Like a little medal. Like, everyone should have a medal or something. I wear a hoodie generally that says what I do. Like, my latest hoodie is my Ants on the Rock hoodie. My hoodie before that kind of said all the athlete stuff that I did and my sponsors and stuff. So I've always kind of self-advertised, you know. It's what it's all about. Even if you're not doing anything, pretend you are. I don't know. Why not, eh? Why not? So anyways, let's get on with the main topic of the night. This was a bit of a random one, but it's something that I've come across a little bit more lately, again, doing the workshops. So fake plants versus real plants, you decide. Now, I am going to throw out the idea that obviously I prefer real plants. In a real life terrarium situation, real plants are generally the way I would like to go. But saying that, there's some scenarios where fake plants are actually really beneficial. So some of our pets, we could say, the snails being one, and some other things will eat your plants, especially as they're young and growing. Which means that fake plants are generally a better way to go in an enclosure for them. Not just that, I have, I'm not going to go into details of it, but there's scenarios in the workshops where we've got plants, but having real life plants could be really damaging to the plants because the kids are kind of grabbing at them, having a look and things like that. So I've actually got some fake plants, replicas of other plants, and they're quite good. And they'll have a look at those, and it's really beneficial. Yet again, fake plants being beneficial in the right setting. But who won? Number 6 won, Katrina. But obviously, like you say, in an terrarium or a general bioactive setup, I would always advocate for real plants. Real plants look nicer, but I'm always worried that ants will destroy them. See, ants don't generally destroy the plants unless they are leaf cutters. Leaf cutters are obviously different, but it's in their name. You might find the harvesters might uproot them a little bit, or they might even cover them with more soil. But you won't generally find that the ants killed or ruin plants that I've found anyways. It tends to be like the isopods or giant African land snails. That's exactly what I was looking at behind me, because I've got 3 large ones and 4 smaller ones, and anything I actually threw a load of seeds in there a while back just to let the plants grow so that they can eat them. And exactly, fake plants are the way to go in that sort of scenario. But is there any bad effects from fake plants? Has anyone come across bad fake plants? Now, I've heard stories. I'll read that in 2 seconds. I've heard a story of someone who had fake plants that they bought online, and they were fairly cheap, and they used them in their terrarium setup, and it started turning the soil green. Now, it turns out that these plants were covered in like a paint or a dye or something that was actually really toxic, and they were like made on the black market basically. It turned the soil really nasty, and it probably would be dangerous to put your ant colony anywhere near it. So again, there's a bad situation with a fake plant, but you can have bad situations with real plants too. Obviously, real plants do tend to die, and they can mold, and they can outgrow your outworld or whatever you're keeping them in. You know what I mean? I've had several plants that, in fact, my largest tank, I've constantly got to do cutbacks. Otherwise, they will easily just climb out as it grows. I've got other tanks that I've kind of restricted the light so that they grow a little bit slower because it just gets too out of control. I've got so many plants in this house at the moment that I've got no windowsills or anything left. You know what I mean? There's plants everywhere. So again, using fake plants would stop that. But you don't get such benefits as you do from the real plants. Right, I'm going to read these comments before I go on to a few more of the benefits. Real plants don't survive in your setups either. Why? Because my cleanup crew, that's it. Isopods will eat it. I tend to, whenever I do a cutback, I tend to leave a vast majority of it for the isopods to munch on, and I do overfeed my tanks as well, especially my isopod dwelling tanks, mainly because then they kind of hopefully won't. As long as they are covered in anything that they should be fine. Aquatic plants are usually safe as, yeah, aquatic plants are a really good way to go. In fact, not just that, they quite often come attached to like a little rock or some kind of landscaping element, we could say, if that makes sense. Like quite often they'll have, oh, I forget, decor. That's it. It's like more than just a plant. It's a piece of decor, and you can make some really good elements from it. Variant plants. Trying to go. Yeah, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, Katrina. But I've got certain plants which just, like the ferns in my multi-species tank, they just explode. But they do have a lot of light in there. Now, I know the light's getting quite bad on the camera that we're watching right now, so I might move the light in a second. That's because the humidity is building up within the outworld section that we're looking at from the water in the gravel. Sorry, my words are just escaping me there. So the plants that I put in are in water in a section of gravel, and it seems that's creating quite a large bit of humidity within the outworld, which is absolutely fine. I mean, these outworlds are heated. This one's at around, I'm going to say 25 to 26 degrees, probably the same as the fungus chamber, but it's generally a lower humidity than the fungus chamber, which needs to be at about 99% all the time. And this tends to be closer to the 50% mark because it's just generally got very little in it apart from leaves. But now with all the added water towers, the added standy up leaves, because we were doing like cut leaves before on the surface. Now we're doing them on their stems. This is the first time on their stems, actually. Just an interesting fact for you. So mark the date. Anyone that's watching the progress of these colony, we are doing daily updates. I've got quite a few I need to upload at the moment, of probably about 4 or 5 days worth that I need to upload, but there is daily updates that you can watch the fungus growing and so on and so forth. It's quite cool. So anyways, you know, springtails had a huge die-off. Right, so springtails are a funny one. If I try to culture one, they die. If I don't try at all and just leave an enclosure and keep feeding it or whatever, they do absolutely brilliant. So I've got several boxes here. I've got one which is my main nucleus that I use for all my bioactive builds. It's got springtails in it, it's got worms in it, it's got all sorts of my special mix to basically, I'll add that into any substrate and it makes it instantly bioactive and instantly awesome. So fertile, you could grow a mushroom in there overnight, you know what I mean? So that's generally what I do. If you buy a springtail culture from me, that's generally where it's going to come from as well. It's going to come from that hugely fertile soil. So if there's any soil in there, which I do generally send them on the soil, stick that straight in the tank as well, because that's amazing stuff. But it does tend to happen. I find, like I say, it's a weird one. If I'm trying to culture them, it just doesn't work. I used to be really good at it, but since, I suppose I just haven't got the same amount of time to dedicate to such things. Monitoring as well was a major part of what I used to do. I don't do a lot of monitoring anymore. Most of it kind of works themselves, you know what I mean? Once you get a good handle of what you're doing, you don't do as much monitoring, if you know what I mean. I'm sure you all know what I mean. I do too. Don't ask why there was a veg in my half-empty junk tank. It's my base supply tank. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. The reaping dew you have in your tanks, the red and green one goes purple too. Right, so my favourite one at the minute, yeah, I do like that one. So I've got a couple of them. I've got a much larger one as well, Katrina, which I haven't had the chance to use because when I got it, it was like 4 or 5 times bigger than this one. And I was like, oh my God, if I put it into Manny's enclosure, it would take up like half the enclosure. It's quite impressive. Anyways, feed them wood, leaves, and banana peel. They'll go crazy. Yeah. Right, so that's funny. Bananas are a massive part of the diet of most of my insects. In fact, my roaches go nuts for bananas. They absolutely love bananas. Not too bothered about strawberries and things like that, but bananas, yeah. I tend to have a lot of bananas in the house because we tend to buy a bunch every day generally. So there's always a lot of bananas, not necessarily leftover banana, but I just steal a banana. Sorry, kids, you're going to go without, but it's fine. Doesn't matter. So, anyways, benefits of fake plants over real plants. So, some of the other benefits of the real plants is when they're growing, their root system really helps to stabilize the soil as well. So, your ant colony can dig a little bit further, a little bit wider without it risking so much collapse. Those roots really do make a difference. Obviously, you don't get roots with fake plants. So I think, without sounding absolutely stupid, because we all knew I was going to come to the same conclusion, was basically, I still think real plants are the way to go, especially in a bioactive environment. Why would you do anything else? But in the sort of scenario where they're going to get destroyed, or basically where the plants could come to harm, then go for fake. Go for fake plants. Let's say at my workshops, I take the fake plants because the kids like to be very handsy, that's fine. And we only get out the larger roaches and things like that because they are quite handsy. But you do find that when you get the pets out, a lot of the kids tend to calm down because they know that the insects need quiet. We've got big signs as well that we put out saying, shh, the insects need quiet or they won't come out. And, we do encourage quietness whilst we deal with them. Luckily as well, the giant cave roaches, which are like one of the stars of our live show, we could say, they tend to be really calm if you're quiet, but really fast if you're loud or scattish yourself. So as long as you stay calm, they're calm. Then we tell the kids that, and we show them, as long as you're calm and quiet, he'll sit on your hand. But the minute you start to be loud, he'll run all over your body and possibly up to your face. You say that to possibly a 13-year-old, and they're like, oh dear. And they either want to show off to their friends or don't want to hold it at all. We actually found that it's teenage girls will hold it more than teenage boys. Younger boys will hold it more than younger girls. But by the time you're an adult, no one wants to hold it. Quite often the women will kind of man up more than the men, or before the men, we could say, and come and have a hold. But I think, again, that's just kind of being like, well, you're not going to hold it, I'm going to hold it. Don't want to start like battle of the sexes or something. I don't know. Right, so that is one thing I absolutely hate, Katrina, is mold in the enclosures. It is one of the things I keep my wife on top of. She doesn't deal with much in the way of feeding or cleaning, but I do say just do mold patrol every other day. Just have a look, because if I'm putting food in and there could be leftovers, I don't want any mold building up, especially in scenarios where we're breeding isopods or so on and so forth. We just don't want mold. It's not good. So that is one of the things that I hate the most, dread it the most. But obviously I do keep springtails in pretty much every enclosure. I'm actually an advocate for releasing springtails into every household. Why not? It can't really harm the house, can it? Like, they just eat mold and probably sort out every damp problem in the British households, I don't know. But I can't see a detrimental effect of releasing springtails into the house. Not really. I am slightly nuts though, so don't trust me on my word of that. I know some people have like house rabbits. Is there much difference? I mean, there was this guy down the bottom of my island, going a little bit off subject now, but it's still nature related. A giant, and I mean really giant rabbit, and in his house, he didn't have carpets, he just had straw down, and he just let the rabbit roam about doing whatever it did in the house. okay, I'm going to wear shoes in here. Um, but yeah, so that was that. And I think to go upstairs, he had like a kid's stairgate on his stairs, and that's literally how he lived. Like, if he can live like that, then damn, I can release some springtails in my house. But yeah, really giant. I do like the giant rabbits, but they're a little bit scary. You know, they're not naturally that big as well. That's a genetic enhancement that we've bred into them. I think it's breeding, not scientific involvement. But either way, it's not natural for them to be that big. There was no giant. I don't believe. I think they were classed as hares back then. Although hare is technically a different genus, we could say, because it's related to rabbit, but it's not actually a type of rabbit. It's completely different. They are natural, are they? I didn't think that. I thought they were like a breeding project or something. Like most things are. Let's be honest. Especially if you can make them for meat. Like bananas. Have you ever seen a real life banana? Like, I mean, I should say real life banana. Oh dear, I think we've all seen a real life banana. I mean, have you ever seen a banana like in its original form? Now, it was like 90% seed. It was pretty much one big seed with a little bit of yellow around the outside. They've done some engineering or breeding of some description to make the seeds those tiny little black specks that you see in your banana when you cut it in half. Tiny little black specks. That's the seeds that are originally like 90% of the banana. That I don't think that again was scientific involvement. That again was over probably a few hundred years. I don't know, probably not even that. Probably over about 100 years. Good evening, live wildlife cameras. Thank you for signing in. We're just talking really randomly, actually. But yes, I wouldn't know. I know carrots, again, that's another thing. Carrots have changed. I'd like to say it was before the time of proper genetic engineering. It would have been breeding sounds really crazy because you don't breed carrots, but you do in a way because they have to germinate through seeds and stuff like that. But I'm sure carrots were originally different colours, and fruit and veg before we started getting these pretty. Yeah, tomatoes are tomatoes. Right, I don't think I've seen tomatoes in their original form, but it won't surprise me again if they're a lot more seedy. That tends to be what we do. Make the seed smaller, the juicy part juicier, and it bigger in general. Good evening, Mark. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, so that, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have bigger food and so on and so forth, but I don't know. It's when you get to the proper genetically engineered food that's when it starts to get questionable, isn't it? Again, it all has to pass safety standards and so on and so forth, so it can't necessarily be bad for you. But wasn't there like there was talks of doing like full genetically engineered farms, wasn't there? But I don't think it ever really came about. GM crops, that's what it was. Back in the early 2000s, I remember GM crops was quite a big thing. And I think France was quite into it actually. But I can't remember how much actually came about of it. We have talked a little bit about the Leafs. Sorry, just go jump back to. I'm just jumping back and forth between comments. Right, I'll answer this one first. Did I see the movie Harvey? I don't believe so. It doesn't ring any bells. Speaking of giant rabbits, no, right. So I don't believe so. I've seen that one where they're all in a field and Watership Down. I've seen that one. But apart from that, I don't think I've seen many. No, I don't think I've seen Harvey. I've seen Peter Rabbit. That was a good film. And then, right, so how are the leaf cutters coming? They are doing fantastic. I talked a little bit earlier. I'll go over it again just because we've got some new viewers. Why not? So I talked a bit earlier about we've had a bit of a die-off over the last week, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay. In the far chamber, we've got a considerable, not massive, but a considerable pile of dead fungus and a few dead ants mixed in there too, which I'm not massively concerned about because, again, these sorts of things do happen, especially after the travel. But it is more than what was sort of regularly building up there beforehand. But I'm too worried. Now, I have put these leaves in, or we've been streaming now for an hour and 24 minutes. And I put these leaves in about 25 minutes before the stream started. As you can see, the humidity is building right up in this outside pod now. It's not normally that high in this pod, but it's not a bad thing. Like we said earlier, the more water sources, the better. It's not a bad thing to give them extra water sources through humidity. We have given them an extra water tower to that effect because we did find that any source of water that we were providing for them in form of condensation or on the leaves or so on and so forth, they were going absolutely nuts for. So it was just a matter of providing them some more water. Now, I've just seen there at the bottom of the stem, I'm not sure how fuzzy it is at the minute, it's telling me that the signal has dropped. Today, the signal has been a nightmare in my house. But just looking at the bottom on those stems, there is a nice big piece of leaf that's been cut off, and I think they're looking for a way to take it back to their nest. I did do it so that there's a leaf or two connecting to one side and a stem connecting to the other side. I meant to turn it round completely actually, but by the time I realized my hand had already left the enclosure and been bitten several times, so I wasn't going to go back in because ants were piling all over it and it was too late. So leave it to it. That will do for now. Just had a browse on the site. I'll be quiet. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic, Crazy Antics. If you do as well, I'll chuck in a few extra things for you because I've got some really cool stuff at the moment. I tend to be a nightmare for it. Every time I get an order, I'm just like, right, chuck that in and chuck that in. And this is really cool too. They can have some of that. Absolute nightmare. So yeah, just, yeah. We'll see what happens when we wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and all of that. Leave it there. Oh dear. Yeah, exactly. You get it. So yeah, it is. I am really enjoying having the leaf cutters, especially like I say, this is the first day that we've given them standing up food to forage from. Normally it is just the smaller cut off leaves on the floor as such of this outside enclosure pod. Quite often I've been putting the leaves straight into the fungus pod as well, because something that I have been told by the one and only Aunt Davy is that if you put leaves in this outside pod too early, they might move their fungus. Now, I did actually start to witness this. It was quite worrying. They moved some of their fungus under a couple of the leaves. I sort of panicked and I picked the leaf up and chucked it straight into the fungus pod, and they moved the fungus straight back. But it was a little sorry to hear about. I hope it's a startup. Like you said, mine come on Tuesday. Oh, brilliant! It's one of those experiences, like they're not like any other ant colony really. They're so different and so cool. Oh, you could see that leaf coming up. It is so condensation-y at the moment, but they're bringing that leaf up on the left-hand side, right-hand side. I'm not sure what side it is to the viewers. Oh dear. But on the side where they're going to go through the tunnel, there's the leaf. Oh, sorry, I get so excited about watching it. You're going to be there for hours, just like I am. I film it. I've got the little screen in the corner of my screen, so I can watch it no matter what work I'm doing. I'm really enjoying having leaf cutters. It is a spectacular feeling. But yeah, keep us updated on yours as well. Have you gone for Attas or Acros? Like, which ones have you got? I went for the Acros. I don't know really why. I had a feeling they were more my style. The Attas, I believe, are bigger and smaller. They get smaller ones as well. But I don't know. I wanted the Acros. They really took my fancy. Cool. Right, so my wife just brought in a coffee, absolutely boiling hot. Who makes a coffee that hot? No, I'm joking. She is spectacular for doing it, but that is too hot for my little young mouth. I shall drink my Lucozade instead. Haha. Oh dear, oh dear. Acro, yes, I am. Yes, but I'm very rarely part of it because I just never go on WhatsApp, to be honest. Acros are awesome. Would you have seen the setup of mine? I possibly have. I don't know, to be honest. I see so much. I doesn't all process or go into my memory. Send me a picture on Facebook or something. And I probably have seen it, but it's always worth it. Send me a picture. Is the Queen fully locked up? I can honestly say I haven't seen the Queen the entire time I've had them. I've pretty much been able to guess where she is. Looking at the fungus, it's sort of got a honeycomb effect to it. So it's got lots of little holes and whatnot for ventilation, and that's also where the brood is kept. Looking closely, you can sort of see one of the holes is about 5 times bigger than any of the others. Now, I believe that's going to be where the Queen is, if anywhere. Again, I haven't seen her, but I know there's loads of brood in there, and they seem to be doing really well. So I assume she's locked up tight in the fungus chamber. It's quite interesting that she would spend her entire life within the fungus, but that's the way it is. Oh yeah, I think I did see that one. I think I did see that. The high-tech ant setups are absolutely awesome. I actually looked at them before I settled on the Antboy UK setup that I've got in front of you. So yeah, definitely keep us up to date on that, because it's always nice to see the same ants in different setups and whatnot and how they do. We can compare notes and so on as well. So yeah. Oh, I do love it. See, some of these ants, it looks like this one here. You obviously can't see where I'm pointing, but there's one here that seems to have a droplet of moisture in his mouth. Now that's so cool. They do have a massive appetite for water. Like I say, they drink so much water. You got to keep on top of that. That's the main thing. Humidity, water, humidity, water. Leaves, food, humidity, water. That's pretty much how it goes for me. But apart from that little die-off, like I say, it's all gone really well. Expect, like I say, rubbish and fungus to be taken out on a daily basis, constantly taking out bits of dead fungus. And that is normal. Fungus will continuously die, but new fungus will grow and replace it, replenish it, and grow past its previous placement, if you know what I mean. So your fungus is growing rather than shrinking, you're all right. It is one of those things, though. You kind of watch with your heart in your mouth, just because the slightest thing, if like a contaminant touches the fungus or the wrong humidity, imagine you have a power cut for like 2 or 3 hours, or well, a few hours won't matter. Imagine you have a power cut for 2 days. Now, this does happen on rare occasion. I remember one Christmas, some people were out power for weeks, weren't they? Imagine if that happens. There goes your leafcutter colony, because there's no way that you can maintain the fungus chamber at 25 degrees roughly without some kind of help in like, you know, that big leaf is about to make its way into the tunnel. Awesome. How long have I had my leaf cutters? Literally about 2 weeks. If we go back on my videos, you'd be able to see the very day they turn up. Yeah, I literally about 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks now. Haven't had them long, but they are absolutely spectacular. They say I probably won't manage to keep up the daily filming forever. It will probably turn into more like every couple of days. But yeah, all those heat mats and cables. Yeah, exactly. My amp room would be a nightmare. I mean, we do have the odd power cut, and I have had my electric switch off when I haven't topped up in time. Absolute nightmare, because not only all the heat mats and wires turn off, all the lights turn off. Like all the lights are on timers that generally I set like by turning them on at a set time and setting a 12 hour. So then I have to wait until the next day at the right time, set a little timer on my phone, like a little alarm, and get there at the right time to, yeah, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Now, I just heard something drop. Are they carrying a stone? They might have actually been carrying a stone there and not a leaf. That's absolutely crazy. Taking a bit of gravel out of the doodad. Whatever. Can't even remember what I was talking about now. No. Anyways, so let's talk a little bit about the Polyrhachis. We are going to call it a night. The Polyrhachis dives, my big colony, possibly the biggest Polyrhachis dive colony on the internet, possibly the biggest captive weaver ant colony on the internet. Also, what I've been told, I'm not going to say definitely both either, but I have been told both fairly recently. Now, they are expanding again. I have said this, I think, on the stream recently, but their nest is quite expansive now. They've kind of gone round in a big old circle, enclosing in some of the sticks and stuff. And now they're filling in the big circle. So their nest is about 1 foot long now. It will be probably about 3, maybe 4 inches deep and about 1/2 foot high. There's so many ants in there, it is absolutely mental. I have started preparation for building the next expansion and saving some of the other insects from in there. We got out one of the bumblebee millipedes that came to the surface the other day. I saw it and I was like, holy hell, I'm getting him. So we got out the bumblebee millipede. That's 1 of 5 that should be in there. There might be more, but we know there should be 5. I mean, I was quite surprised there is even that one, to be honest. There's quite a lot of Mario worms in there. You can tell there's a lot of Mario worms by the state of the soil, basically. It's, if you look at it, it's very balled up, and that's where they're churning it up and constantly mixing it. It's a normal thing with Mario worms, and you can sort of see the way that they move does it. So yeah, there's quite a lot of Mario worms in the soil, and obviously the amount of beetles that pop up as well, there's quite a huge population in there, and they all lay eggs, and it's not a lot you can do to stop it. Apart from if I got all the soil out and baked it, which I'm never going to do, it's just going to be an ongoing situation. Whatever. So we're going to be, let's say, saving what we can, getting out the vampire crabs and so on and so forth, because that colony is just absolutely insane. And even now, over a month since it started, they are still mating. There is at least 5 queens being mated with by multiple males right now on top of the nest itself. So they'll be absorbed back into it afterwards. I don't know how many new queens have been absorbed back into the colony, but I'm probably going to say there's at least 10, if not 20 queens now. We've gone from a 2-queen colony and a good few, maybe 6,000, maybe 4,000 workers, hard to tell, to possibly 10 to 20 queens which have been absorbed back in. Now, this is scary. they say we are planning a big expansion for this colony and quite a few new safety features, believe it or not, as well as the expansion. We are looking forward to contain them before they get out of hand. Because if I can get a couple more queens, I will let you know, Katrina. Not a problem at all. Yeah, so we've started, like say, looking at how we're gonna keep them in, because when they do get into like hundreds of thousands, which they clearly will, it'll be hard keeping them in that tank. But we've got a few tricks up our sleeves, and you'll have to stay tuned to witness them. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Give this little live a like for me if you are here and watching it. All helps towards the channel. We are heading towards nearly 700 subscribers now, which is super cool. Not far away from the thousands, so we are getting there. Hopefully we'll get to 1,000 by Christmas. Is that a reasonable aim? I don't know. Maybe 1,000 by the Sheffield show. Let's see if we can do that, shall we? If we can do that, well, when we get to 1,000, we're going to do a big giveaway anyways, because why not? Obviously, we got the Christmas giveaway coming up. That's going to be at Christmas. You can already schedule it in and put a reminder on the stream, because it has already been programmed into our YouTube. You can find it on the whole list of scheduled streams. It says something like Christmas stream or something like that. And thank you very much, Crazy Antics. I am, like I say, nearly 700, not quite there yet, but it is super cool. I am like overwhelmed with excitement. Is excitement? Gratitude, I think, is the better word. Very thankful, basically, to everyone who watches, views, and joins our lives. So yeah, without further ado, I am gonna leave you to it now for the night. So massive thank you to everyone for signing on, being absolutely fantastic and keeping the streams going and alive. Massive thank you to our sponsors, Answer Us and Valhalla Martial Arts here in Weymouth, obviously funding us in the background, keeping those improvements happening, both technology and maintenance wise. And a massive thank you to our Patreon supporters, Katrina and Stacey. You're both absolutely fantastic for your ongoing support towards us. It all helps. And that's about it for tonight. If you need me, you know where I am. Send me a message on any of my social medias or on the website itself. If you've got any inquiries as well, send me a message. And don't forget, check out the ant sugars as well. They're super cool. And thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Have a brilliant night. Have a brilliant week. I was going to say weekend, but have a brilliant week. And I shall be here Wednesday, so I shall see you then. We've got some videos coming out in the meantime, so keep your eyes posted for them as well. But as always, for me, I'll see you again soon, Ant fans. Good night.